set of deep economic, societal, and technological transformations, creating new challenges and opportunities for economic growth. In many advanced economies, a growing share of citizens believe that the growth models pursued over the past 30 years have failed to secure them a fair share of economic benefits, maybe brought by technology and globalization. So we'll talk a little bit about the headwinds, and then we want to focus on the growth opportunity, given everything that's going on. So over the next 45 minutes, we'll debate the path ahead with Melanie Joly, Minister of Industry of Canada, Thomas Burbel, Chief Executive of AXA, Khaldoun Khalifa Al Mubarak, Group Chief Executive Officer of Mubadala Investment Company, Mark Benioff, Chair and CEO and co-founder of Salesforce, and Ruth Porat, President and Chief Investment Officer at Alphabet and Google. Please engage in this conversation also by using hashtag WEF26 across social channels. So Minister, let me start off with you.
Yes.
I know we're going to have a good and intense debate. It's very nice to see you. Minister, how's decoupling protectionism and geopolitical risk reshaping global growth and reshaping your industrial policy?
Well, this is the big question that many countries are asking themselves. You just heard the Prime Minister in his speech. And I think a year ago, the fact that we reacted very, very strongly to
go to bed. Yeah. This is going to be like a very random stream. I don't have a plan. I'm just kind of chilling.
What the US was doing to us was a wake-up call in Canada. And we've been dealing with this trade war. It's been tough, but Canadians are tough and extremely resilient, and I must say resourceful. So in that sense, there are many things, we've been saying back home, there are lots of things we can't control. We can't control.
I've never heard her say, she's like the female Trudeau. She actually might be a little smarter than Trudeau, but I've never seen her say anything of substance.
What's going on in Washington. But there are many things we can control, and we can control.
It's so pointless. Everything that these Canadian officials ever say is just some high level crap.
Who we're doing business with. So obviously, you heard the Prime Minister, we have access to 1.5 billion people in terms of market. We have a free trade agreement with Europe. We just came out of China where we were able to stabilize our relationship also and have a new strategic partnership. We also came out of Qatar. We've been to the UAE. We've been everywhere around the world because diversification of our trade has been at the core of what we do. The other thing I must say, Francine, is, what type of business we do. So we're very strong in aerospace. We have the fastest civil jet in the world.
Yeah, I've heard people think she's a drunk, yeah. Which is funny. I've definitely heard that before. I think this speech is like half French, half English. I'm just going to play it and then I'll be right back.
Ça fait longtemps.
Ça fait longtemps.
Alors, bonjour, mes chers amis, chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs. Cet endroit est chargé de souvenirs. Au XVIIIe siècle, deux armées se sont affrontées ici dans une bataille qui a changé à jamais le cours de l'histoire de ce continent. Lorsque la fumée s'est dissipée, les deux commandants, Wolfe et Montcalm, gisaient mourants, leur destin lié même dans la mort. La Nouvelle-France était tombée. L'Amérique du Nord britannique était née. Il aurait été facile, voire prévisible, d'en rester là. Le scénario habituel de la conquête. Les vaincus sont assimilés, le langue supprimée, le foi interdite, le droit remplacé. C'est ce que les conquérants ont fait pendant des millénaires. De la grande déportation des Acadiens, en passant par le rapport de Rame suite à la rébellion des Patriotes, certains ont cherché à imposer ce modèle, l'assimilation, la logique habituelle de la conquête. Et finalement, ce n'est pas la voie que le Canada a choisie. Et pourquoi? D'abord, grâce à la résilience des francophones. Une résilience parfois silencieuse, souvent combative, mais toujours déterminée à préserver une langue, une culture et une identité. Ensuite, par pragmatisme. Les autorités britanniques ont rapidement compris qu'on ne gouverne pas durablement 70 000 habitants contre leur volonté. Surtout avec des colonies américaines instables au sud. Ainsi, tout au long de l'histoire de notre pays, des décisions ont été prises pour construire quelque chose de différent ici, ensemble. Cela n'a pas toujours été une ligne droite. Les progrès ont été réalisés à travers des tensions, des compromis et parfois des échecs. Mais à plusieurs reprises, le Canada a choisi une voie différente. And from that choice, initially practical, even self-interested, something remarkable emerged. Not a myth, not a miracle, but a growing commitment that coexistence could make us stronger, that we can build an identity which not only respects our differences, but also celebrates them. Un projet audacieux que deux peuples récemment ennemis, parlant des langues différentes, pratiquant des religions différentes, vivant sous des traditions juridiques différentes, puissent partager un même pays and build it together. The Canadian philosopher Charles Taylor contends that people aren't blank slates, but that our identities, personal and national, are constituted through history. In his words, the past is sedimented in the present, and our choices are shaped by what came before. Our country was built on the bedrock of three peoples: Indigenous, French, and British. Long before the battle on these plains, long before the first French ships sailed up the St. Lawrence, Indigenous peoples were the original stewards of this land. They built nations, trading networks, and systems of governance that spanned the entire continent. The Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, and the Innu shaped this land and were shaped by it. Then the French came. They built a new society adapted to the realities of North America, shaped by the river and forest, by trade with indigenous nations, and by the determination to survive and flourish in this land. When the British came, that civilization did not disappear. It endured, and now it thrives. La Confédération est née de cette histoire. L'une de ses pierres fondateurs, José-Étienne Cartier, a déclaré à l'époque que les Canadiens et Canadiennes étaient des races différentes, non pas se faire la guerre, mais afin de travailler conjointement à leur propre bien-être, qui vivent les uns à côté des autres comme de grandes familles. Ce pacte a été renouvelé lorsque Wilfrid Laurier a gouverné un pays qui avait autrefois conquis son peuple. Il a été renouvelé avec l'avènement du bilinguisme officiel. Il a été renouvelé lorsque les Québécois ont choisi à deux reprises de rester au sein du Canada, estimant que ce partenariat, malgré toutes ses frustrations, méritait non seulement d'être préservé, mais aussi d'être renforcé. Les plans d'Abraham symbolisent un champ de bataille.
Un champ de bataille. Hello, Dan. What up, bro? What up? I'm just basically chilling. I'm not really doing anything. So don't feel free to. This might be a boring stream. Tumadonk on mal de tête. You give me a headache, I think, with the crise de voice with a Tu me donc un mal de tête. I don't know, with a bad voice? I don't know. With a weird voice. Le Canadien en plus de voix. Le Canadien en plus de voix. La voix. My last name is La voix. What up, bro? What up? What up? Yeah, we talked about that actually on my last stream. It's crazy, hey? That was nuts.
Ah oui, mais il symbolise aussi le lieu où le Canada a commencé à faire le choix historique de privilégier l'adaptation plutôt que l'assimilation, ou le partenariat plutôt que la domination, ou la collaboration plutôt que la division. Oui, cette fondation était imparfaite. Elle excluait trop de gens. Elle reposait en partie sur la dépossession de peuples autochtones et sur la violation des traités conclus avec eux. Mais cette fondation reposait sur l'idée fondamentale que l'unité ne passe pas nécessairement par l'uniformité.
Okay, if I go to here, is anyone going to have any idea what I'm talking about? The Andrew Tate exposed himself after Sneeko situation. Let's see if we can bring in some new viewers here.
Get myself in trouble.
Andrew Tate said there is a reason that Ye stopped. You don't understand. Nobody has correctly identified what happens if you tell the truth. There's a lot before death.
I have to be careful talking about them because I go to jail. But
Recap before we get into everything. And Andrew Tate has exposed the real reason now that he's been backtracking and apologizing. So him and a bunch of the right-wing influencers, Andrew Tate, Tristan Tate, Myron, the Fresh and Fit guys were both there actually. Sneeko, Nick Fuentes, and another streamer were all partying, and some disrespectful songs were getting played that were anti-Semitic. And Andrew Tate,
Yeah, that was crazy. This story was all over the place.
has backtracked and blamed it on Sneeko now. So was Tristan as well. He tweeted blaming Sneeko for this. But this is the reason why Andrew Tate has backtracked. He's pretty much exposed it in a Fresh and Fit podcast.
you'd be like, bitch, you're nuts.
Can I offer
That's the truth.
something real quick? I think that's why Judaism is only passed down through the mother, technically, right? Because that's the only way that you can confirm that that child is actually Jewish because it was birthed by the Jewish mother. You don't know with the father who actually impregnated her at the end of the day. Like, quite literally, Judaism to this day, it is only passed down through the mother.
Do you
For no
think
reason.
that's an interesting point?
Yeah,
I have to be careful
it's
talking
true.
about them because I go to jail.
Oh.
But
I don't care about this part. I want to see the part about them beefing with each other.
Or I'm arrested, it will be released instantly. And also retweeted by the tutorial shooter, Reese Friend, someone said, be careful who you let be your friends or what you share with them, because snakes butt.
He is some kind of fed or he would be in jail. You're giving me a effing. Oh, I see. Okay. You have given me a headache. Now we get this Karn Kneeson. Yeah, I think Tate is cringe too. All these guys, in one fashion or another, are. They all have their own form of being ridiculous, but it is kind of a maybe like a guilty pleasure to just like see their stupid little
Ratioed
arguments.
by Sneeko twice, meaning his post got more engagement just responding to Andrew Tate. Because he said, when you're an A-list famous, generally famous, not a silly nobody streamer, an A-list famous, then you help the world in different ways. To a nobody internet clown chasing clicks, your job is to point people in the right direction and let momentum do the rest. He said, he's not my friend. I avoided him for years because all he does is start trouble and insult you behind your back for clicks. I gave him a chance because Clav begged me to, and he did it again. Sneeko put a door and ratioed it.
Part of the reason, if not over 50% of the reason that I'm banned everywhere, is because I was standing up for them. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook.
I'm just passing the time. Influencers are all cringe. Tate is known for being involved with SA in Romania. Still a crime punishable by law. And yeah, no, I know that Tate is in trouble for that. But I think he got off, but I think he's also now, well, maybe he didn't get off, but I don't know what the story is. I don't even really follow it, but well, I don't because he hasn't really been in the news, but I think he's got another trial in the UK.
Facebook, Meta gave me everywhere. Snapchat, banned everywhere. Partly because I platformed Nick Fuentes.
The group because he wanted a girlfriend that could speak the same language as him. This is how bad it went. He was saying, why would you want to speak to women?
The language barrier is too weird. I want someone who speaks American English. You talk to girls? Yeah, what are you gonna have a conversation? we're talking about babies. Oh, Sneaker wants that.
It's so stupid. Does anybody else, I think I keep asking this, but I find it fascinating that nobody really streams Canadian news. I guess it's just not big enough. Like there are big Canadian streamers. Have you ever heard of somebody called XQC?
So there's there's many good things.
Okay, well, that's one of the best things. You can put her in all black and tell her to shut the fuck up.
Well, also you want your kids to speak the same.
Because if I go to
speak the same language.
like if I go to Twitch,
Ideally.
say, I'm on
They can
Twitch
speak
right
two
now,
languages.
Some advice the streamer got on this night.
and I just searched Canada. I don't get anything. Yeah, this guy here, I didn't even know he was live. This guy's Canadian. He's huge too. This guy's super rich.
Then I called him, get on stream. He said I made him pay 200K for a loan and charged extra. This is false. I had him pay 5K in fees for 300K loan. I gave him in cash a week because I wanted to have him live near me because I thought I was gonna be my friend and join OTK. Interesting. Well, I mean, 5K for 5K for a loan of that much is not. That's not much at all.
Yeah, this guy's like, but I don't know who would like. I don't think anyone on here would be talking about Canada. First Canada. Oh, it's First Robotics. Canada Cup Gaming. Canada Cat. I never use Twitch. I don't even really know like what I hardly even know how Twitch works. It looks like these people are like streaming in their bedrooms.
Music is
though.
really good too.
Spicy fashion show soon.
Parents.
This is the first hit for Canada. Okay, this looks like some sort of like, how do I get out of here? Yeah, XQC I think is the biggest. Oh, what if I go by views? Maybe I can't. Recommended for you. 24,000. Yeah, XQC is huge. And then if I go to Kick, yeah, same. This guy's a giant. Oh, this guy's live right now. Sneeko, IRL in Miami.
I'll be honest. The guy that you guys end up picking, do you think they're gonna split the money?
Yes. These type of streams I don't quite understand. Just people kind of sitting around, chilling. There's a lot of these though. On Kick and stuff. That's what, geez. As soon as I hop on, that song plays. I'll mute it. Looks like he's just driving. I thought he was banned on Kick or something. ABZ.
I knew about that shit soon the first time I had to take a bath by myself.
and I clean my dick with my soap a little bit too fast. I'm like, "Ooh."
It's IRL streaming is kind of cool. I don't think it would really work very good in Canada, but
You're like, oh,
maybe it would.
It goes from there. I think that's how most every guy started.
I ain't gonna lie, I could have lost my virginity in 8th grade, but I was scared, bro. I was scary.
Well,
He was trying to suck everybody meat.
Everybody, yeah.
I
you
don't get it. I mean, I guess I'm doing it right now, but you're just watching people have dinner, eat at a freaking eating supper at a fucking table. A lot of people were at this brand risk thing. Sure, I will. Warning may scare you. What the heck? Oh, damn.
Tragedy all the time, right? You know, my whole career has been being with tragedies, right? When somebody gets the diagnosis of cancer, when somebody gets the diagnosis of a chronic illness like multiple sclerosis. I
Is this the video?
mean, it's just one tragedy after another. And why do we want to be doctors? Why do we want to care for people who are suffering tragedies? Because we can help, because we feel like we can help. And that's why we get good feeling about it.
It's crazy how like abortions, the gun debate for the most part, private versus social health care, they're not even debates in Canada. The left-wing position is just assumed on those ones.
Just love gratitude. And these people are the most grateful that I have ever cared for. So that's certainly part of it. That just they just I just get so many thank yous and so many hugs. And I've been a family doctor. I knew that the law was changing. I just happened to be having a coffee with a research colleague who works in palliative care, and I said, "Oh, our law is changing next year. Are you going to be providing?" We didn't call it MAID then. The assisted deaths, and she said, "Oh no, our palliative care organization is completely separating themselves
She's like
from
giggling, eh?
assisted dying." And I said, "Oh, then they'll need providers." And she said, "Oh yes." So I called up a friend who was also an abortion provider and said, "Hey, palliative care is not going to be doing the work. We better figure out how to get trained and get in there." So in the last 8 years, I have provided hundreds of assisted deaths. The annual report details the percentage of people who get assisted dying in Canada, and the majority are for cancer. And the next most common reasons are organ failure and progressive neurological diseases. And
It is
since
creepy.
2021, we've had the ability to assist in people who have chronic illness instead of terminal illness. And that's still a tiny percentage of assisted dying, according to the statistics. I personally have provided some more of those because, again, there are a number of providers who restrict themselves to what we call track one, which are the people for whom their natural death is reasonably foreseeable, and
Okay, this person is live in Bangkok right now.
Thank you, baby bear.
I was in Bangkok for 3 months last year.
Jesus Christ.
I know it's insanity, man. It's insanity. Look at this woman's eyebrows.
Wait, 40 minutes?
But I was just in Bangkok.
40 minutes.
There's a lot of people in Bangkok that do these IRL streams. I don't know if anyone else is live right now, but
Oh, ready? Can do, yeah.
Bangkok's a very popular place for that.
Now I have this one is for the first unibrow, this one the second unibrow, this one retinate. Okay.
Like the lack of response from everything, and they seem to be really responsive about this shit. But not responsive about
they're all on about that with the earthquake damage, the buildings crumbling and shit. They're like, hey, no smoking. Like, man, fix the earthquake
We've been
damage.
complaining about it for like months.
Yeah, you guys should be focused on fixing the earthquake damage and not focusing on harassing me when I'm in the middle of my studies and shit like that. Yeah, it's a bit annoying. I'm gonna go to Amsterdam where I could just smoke.
I don't know, just people sitting here chilling.
Hit this.
Pouvons partager un pays sans nous conformer à une identité unique. Que nos
What kind of sandwich were you making?
différences reconnues honnêtement et gérées dans le respect sont une source de force. Ce choix résonne à travers notre histoire. Il résonne dans les choix faits par les nouveaux arrivants venus de 4 coins du monde pour s'établir au Canada. Il résonne dans les choix faits par chaque génération déterminée à continuer à bâtir, non pas sur le sein ou sur la terre, mais sur quelque chose de plus exigeant et de plus durable, un engagement commun à vivre ensemble, à accepter les différences et à rechercher le bien commun. Et grâce à chacun de ces choix, le Canada est devenu plus riche, plus inclusif et plus équitable. What makes Canada a great country? It's a great country for everyone. It's the greatest country in the world to be a regular person. You don't have to be born rich or to a landed family here. You don't have to be a certain color or worship a certain God. Canadians believe in the value of every other Canadian, their boundless potential to make this great country even better. Our ancestors, despite their differences, believed in each other and in us. Now, there are long periods of history where these values can prosper unchallenged. Ours is not one of them. Our values must be fought for. That's what we are doing. That's what Canadians want. Canadians are up for it. Our history traces an arc of broadening inclusion from biculturalism to multiculturalism, from being British subjects to becoming Canadian citizens, from being 2 founding peoples to being many peoples living in true partnership with Indigenous peoples. From William Lyon Mackenzie King's social citizenship to Louis Saint Laurent's liberal internationalism, from Diefenbaker's One Canada to Pierre Elliott Trudeau's Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Brian Mulroney's environmentalism, to Justin Trudeau's pluralism and reconciliation. Each generation of Canadians has built a modern, progressive, liberal state that embraces the values of caring and sharing, of equity and fairness for all. Institutions make up the body of that progressive state, but our values are at its heart. Institutions from the civil code to public health care, from modern self-government agreements to Parliament's recognition of the Quebec people as a nation. Values of inclusivity, fairness, solidarity, sustainability, and ambition. Canadians are inclusive. We know our country is stronger when everyone belongs, when newcomers are welcome, when minorities are protected, when Indigenous peoples are true partners. That commitment to inclusion was institutionalized, first in the Bill of Rights and then embedded in the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It was manifest in our adoption of multiculturalism, first as policy and then as law. In the same spirit, the enshrinement into law of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples reflects our fundamental commitment to reconciliation and to respecting Indigenous peoples as equal partners in building our country together. And inclusion means going beyond the protection of rights to the commitment to creating a society in which everyone can flourish. That's why we introduced the Combating Hate Act, to preserve the freedom of people to practice their faith and culture without intimidation, harassment, or violence. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes veillent les unes sur les autres, surtout dans les moments difficiles. Et cet esprit de solidarité a inspiré les fondements de l'État-providence moderne au lendemain de la Grande Dépression, notamment l'assurance chômage, les allocations familiales et la sécurité de la vieillesse. De nouveaux piliers institutionnels de solidarité ont été ajoutés avec la création du régime de pension du Canada et de la loi canadienne sur la santé. Je suis fier, vous êtes fiers, que nous ayons élargi ces fondements au cours des dernières années avec le régime national de soins dentaires, les services de garde d'enfants, le plan d'assurance médicaments et le programme national d'alimentation scolaire. Au Canada, c'est lorsque nous sommes unis que nous sommes les plus forts. Lorsque nous veillons les uns sur les autres et que nous veillons à ce qu'aucun enfant, aucune famille, personne ne soit laissé pour compte. Cet esprit de solidarité et de générosité contribue à définir notre identité en tant que nation. Canadians believe that fairness includes equality of opportunity so that every Canadian has a shot at a good and fulfilling life. And the foundation of this commitment is access of every Canadian to comparable public services, particularly education and healthcare. These commitments were institutionalized when equalization was first introduced in 1950 and then embedded in our Constitution in 1982. And by protecting services like childcare, dental care, pharmacare, we strengthen the sense of security that Canadians rely on every day. A strong and united Canada stands up for families and workers and protects those who are most vulnerable, whether they're a newcomer, a person with a disability, or a member of the two-spirited LGBTQI+ community. Now, friends, the advent of artificial intelligence will simultaneously challenge fairness, inclusion, and solidarity, while it creates enormous opportunities for how we live, work, and play. And these tensions can only be reconciled if AI works for all. AI can provide powerful solutions, better healthcare, better education, better government services. It can empower Canadians with new skills for more fulfilling jobs. But realizing that potential will require fundamental reforms to our education system, how we do skills training, and to our social welfare system. Our upcoming AI for All strategy will begin to tackle these challenges to maximize the potential of AI for all Canadians. Le développement durable assure l'équité entre les générations. Les Canadiens et Canadiennes sont les gardiens d'un territoire vaste et précieux. Nous avons pris des mesures pour protéger au moyen de traités internationaux comme le traité sur les pluies acides et l'accord de Paris de 2015, ainsi que par nos progrès constants en matière de conservation de notre patrimoine naturel, conformément à nos engagements pris lors de la conférence de Montréal en 2022. Au cours des prochains mois, notre gouvernement mettra en œuvre de nouveaux plans ambitieux visant à accélérer le développement durable au pays, à réduire les facteurs liés à l'énergie des familles et entreprises et à protéger la richesse naturelle du Canada. Canada is ambitious. Canada is an ambitious nation of builders and explorers. We mapped this continent before the Americans had even left St. Louis. We built a transcontinental railway in 5 years, the St. Lawrence Seaway in 4. We created a healthcare system that became a model for the world. This government, Canada's new government, shares that ambition. We've already removed all federal barriers to interprovincial trade, and we're catalyzing hundreds of billions of dollars in investments in nation-building projects. We're doubling our defense spending by the end of this decade. And we're working to ensure that core Canadian capabilities, including in AI, in quantum, in cyber, and critical minerals, will maximize the economic benefit for Canadians of these new security imperatives. Now we need to execute fairly and fast. Les valeurs canadiennes telles que l'inclusion, la solidarité, l'équité, la durabilité et l'ambition ne sont pas des idéaux abstraits, mais des guides pratiques qui font partie intégrante de notre identité. Notre tâche est de nous en inspirer pour continuer à bâtir en ces temps révolutionnaires. Dans des moments comme ceux-ci, le Canada doit assumer deux rôles à la fois. Premièrement, il doit être une bastion de sécurité et de prospérité pour nos citoyens. Nous devons défendre notre souveraineté, sécuriser nos frontières, protéger nos communautés et bâtir une économie qui offre des possibilités à tous les Canadiens et toutes les Canadiennes. That's why we're undertaking the strongest tightening of the criminal justice system in generations. It's why we're making the largest investment in defense in generations. It's why we're securing our borders through more CBSA agents and greater surveillance resources. And it's why we're building one Canadian economy and launching nation-building projects that will connect and transform our country. We will give ourselves far more than any foreign government can ever take from us. A core mission, while we're doing that, core mission of our government is to lower costs for Canadians. That's why on day one, we canceled the divisive consumer carbon tax. That's why we've cut income taxes for 22 million Canadians. It's why we've cut taxes for first-time homebuyers. It's why we reduced tolls on the Confederation Bridge and Atlantic Ferry fares. It's why we're launched, and we have launched, Build Canada Homes, to build affordable housing construction at a pace not seen since the end of the Second World War. This past fall, we launched the automatic federal benefits for up to 5.5 million low-income Canadians to ensure that our most vulnerable get the money to which they are entitled. We also made the National School Food Program permanent so that kids have the nutrition they need at school. We've started, as we mean to go on, with a relentless focus on improving.
Yeah, I told you this is gonna be a bad stream. I'm just on here because it's fun. I was cleaning up my apartment,
affordability to help Canadians get ahead.
A little bit.
I said we had to do two things.
What are you guys doing tonight? What's everyone doing tonight? It's like minus 30 where I am. Yeah, that one was crazy.
First is to be a bastion. The second is to be a beacon, an example to a world that's at sea. In a time of rising populism and ethnic nationalism.
I'll go to this Promethean because someone else told me about this. Is it just Canada, this person? Whoa. Davos panic. Trump arrives to dismantle WEF. Which one should we watch? The New World Order.
There is a massive irony rippling through the magosphere right now. Many are fixated on Mark Carney's New World Order speech in China, as if it's the...
Is it this woman? This isn't AI, right? I hate that I have to keep asking that. Oh, that sucks that all these look like AI now.
Unveiling of a terrifying master plan.
As you mentioned, mine is the first visit of a Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit.
Yeah, I hate, also check this out. It's fine, but why does everyone do this now? There must be a program that you just ask it to edit out all the dead space. But you know what I mean? Like people can't. So if I was talking like this and I took a break, the editing software would like clamp that together. This is very common. Like Moose on the Loose does this. Lots of people do this.
Canadian Prime Minister to China in nearly a decade. The world has changed much since that last visit. And I believe the progress that we have made in the partnership sets us up well for the new world order.
But they're missing the point. Carney isn't announcing a new empire. He's admitting the old one is dead. The global elites are scrambling because they actually don't have a New World Order 2.0 to replace the old one. All they can do is panic over the chaos the president is creating. That's their new narrative, and the New York Times even devoted a massive amount of editorial space to this exact point just a few days ago. But if you listen to Donald Trump, he's very clear that he is doing the exact opposite. He has explicitly rejected all of the previous administration's addictions to regime change and instability.
That the meeting went well. Why align with Delcy Rodriguez and the remnants of the Maduro regime and not with Machado, who has the support of the Venezuelan people?
Well, if you ever remember a place called Iraq where everybody was fired, every single person, the police, the general.
Yeah, see, there are these descript. Edit video by editing text, delete a sentence, video cuts, removes ums, uhs to detect sentence, create jump cuts automatically. Premiere Pro plus auto cut time bolt. Detect silence, create jump cuts automatically.
Everybody was fired, and they ended up being ISIS. Instead of just getting down to business, they ended up being ISIS. So I remember that.
And it's not just Venezuela where the president isn't playing by the rules of the post-war order. This week, the neocons were caught flat-footed when the president did not launch a military strike on Iran. No regime change today. I'm Susan Kokinda. I've tracked the imperial great game for decades. And what most people accept as the norms of foreign policy, I've exposed as the tools of the modern-day British Empire. So if this is your kind of fight, please hit those like, share, and subscribe buttons so we can stay in touch and we can reach more people. Here's what I'm going to cover today: how the president is not falling for the chaos option in either Iran or Venezuela, and how he is neutralizing two of Britain's key capabilities in the Middle East. So what President Trump is doing in Venezuela and the Mideast shows he is not playing by any New World Order script, whether it's a new one or an old one. And the New York Times had to trot out a bunch of British bred or trained analysts to mourn the collapse of their empire. True to form, 4 of the 5 contributors to this virtual obituary to their system were trained at Oxford, Cambridge, and the London School of Economics. The Times had to go directly to the motherland to craft their new narrative. That is what President Trump's approach to Venezuela and Iran, not to mention Greenland, represents to the elites. Proof that their post-war order is dying. And while they're wringing their hands, look at what President Trump is actually doing. Look at the White House meeting with the Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Machado, where she gave President Trump her Nobel Peace Prize. Now, first off, let's remember the recent history of who's gotten the Nobel Peace Prize, like Barack Obama, and you'll have a pretty good hint of who's deploying Machado, whatever her own intentions may be. Now, it did take a good 2 weeks for her sponsors to wrangle a photo op with the president. But is President Trump jumping on the Machado bandwagon? Well, first, before he met with Machado, he posted about a very productive meeting with the new Venezuelan leader, Delcy Rodriguez. And then he had this exchange with the press.
Why align with Delcy Rodriguez and the remnants of the Maduro regime and not with Machado, who has the support of the Venezuelan people?
Well, if you ever remember a place called Iraq where everybody was fired, every single person, the police, the generals, everybody was fired, and they ended up being ISIS. Instead of just getting down to business, they
ISIS
ended up being ISIS.
He made clear that what he is doing is about stability, not another regime change operation, which gets us to Iran. Now, if you want to look at the chaos principle in full operation, look at the Mideast for the past 80 years. The president talked about chaos.
Oh yeah, she does go live. Cool.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Promethean Actions Live Question and Answer Show. Today's show is about the end of globalization.
Getting out from under a huge rock economy.
Here, check. I don't, I'll probably react to this video again when I do like a proper independent stream, but I want to check this clip out. I haven't even watched it yet, but it's 4 minutes. Alex Jones and Ezra from The Rebel.
I'm from the province of Alberta originally. That's our Texas in Canada. It's where all the oil sands are. And we already signed an agreement with...
Yeah, Trump is the best, man. Trump is unreal. I wish Canada had a version of a Trump, meaning like somebody that would be that bold, but without, like, I mean, Carney is bold with that speech, but it's like with the exact policy that I think is stupid and is stupid. So I wish we had like a populist right-wing Trump. That'd be so awesome in Canada. Someone like that, like Javier Milei maybe or something.
I'm from the province of Alberta originally. That's our Texas in Canada. It's where all the oil sands are. And we already signed an agreement.
No, I know, but I mean like the speech he gave. Like I wish there was a right-winger that would just like give speeches like that would win. Well, we obviously just need someone to win. But even like Carney doesn't act. Like Carney's no action. Carney's all talk, no action. But Trump is all talk and all action. Like he does both. He talks a huge game and then he backs it up. It'd be awesome if Canada had like something like that. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but
I'm from the province of Alberta originally. That's our Texas in Canada. It's where all the oil sands are. And we already signed an agreement with America that gives you not only unlimited access, like Canada cannot limit the access to how much oil you buy. Not exclusive. You get preferential preferential access to our oil than any other country. Like it's the most amazing deal from America's point of view. And Venezuela has got huge oil reserves, but Alberta, that's the province I'm referring to, which is the most right-wing province, it has about 170 billion barrels of oil. That's enough to, it's a staggering amount. It's really
By the way, let's
Saudi
talk
number.
about that. It's not just that province. There's multiple. The numbers show could secede. How is that going to work? And will the central government try to stop it?
I'm so glad you asked me that question. That province of Alberta feels hard done by for a lot of real reasons, because the provinces in Canada, like Alberta, is a smaller population.
Maybe.
And it gets looted with taxes and carbon.
I love Poilievre's Apple. Like, I wish he would just bring I wish he would do every interview like the Apple interview. That was one of the best interviews ever. How do you like, or he's like, well, you're the one that asked the question. You must know somebody.
Taxes and transfer taxes by the central government. And it just doesn't have the votes to stop it, because we don't have the checks and balances like your U.S. Senate, which protects little states and big states. So there is a separatist wave sweeping over the province of Alberta right now. Last polls I saw show that about 35% of Albertans want to be independent, and that's without a real campaign. So the government of Alberta has agreed that if a certain number of petitions are received, they will have an independence vote. And I have to say, every night I see more video on my X feed of little towns and cities where thousands of people are showing up.
Where you've got mile-long lines going in to vote.
Yeah, and an independent Alberta would be culturally, politically, economically very free. It would be like North Dakota. It would be like Montana, which is what we border. And so it would be such a fit. If I don't know if it would be part of the United States or friends with it would be best friends, that's for sure. There was a great saying I heard a politician in Canada say, we don't want to be your 51st state, but we'll be your number one friend. That's not a bad outcome. And I would say to anyone who wants that outcome to happen, don't be like the young bull running down there and scaring off all the other bulls. We'll see how that independence referendum goes. I have a hope that it might scare Ottawa straight to do fewer crazy things.
Life Force.
Geez, half this is just like ads. Methylene red. Very cool.
Me lever et aller manger tranquille, profiter un petit peu. Là, j'ai visité un petit peu ce matin vite fait
Like this guy's
le vieux
French,
quartier.
and he's in Vietnam.
On va marcher par là, tiens. Aïe, ouais, j'ai vraiment très très mal aujourd'hui, merde. Ok. Sa mère. Je sais pas pourquoi j'ai mal d'un coup comme ça, c'est peut-être le froid. Aïe. C'est peut-être le froid qui fait que je sais pas, que j'ai mal comme ça, j'en sais rien. Allez, go. Toujours sous bonnet gant, les gars. Parce que c'est terrible. Attends, il y a des photographes là. On va passer par là, comme ça on gêne personne. Voilà, ça prend des photos dans tous les sens.
I have way easier time understanding the French from France than the French from Quebec. I feel like it's easier to discern what word is being said. It's a storm chaser, apparently. In Oklahoma. There's lots of snow there in Oklahoma.
I'm not sure where we're gonna start, but I'm gonna donate some of that. All right.
Oh, these guys are just messing around. This looks like a really normal, like this doesn't look like a storm. It looks like a very normal winter day in Canada. Are they considering this storm chasing? There's just snow on the ground. Let's see what your boy is up to.
Welcome to Halifax.
Welcome to the show. Happy to have you all on. As you know, it's our feel right in on them. So the problem there is when you're trying to win that center right over, center left over, this is what they see. Is they're just like, oh, here we go, Pierre Poilievre against Mr. Negative. And I was, granted, they probably do that no matter what, but I'm curious what the chat has to say about that, of him kind of like, all right, we're going to take about 30 seconds for this, and then we're going to get right on into it. And that's kind of what he did. However, this is what I liked about Pierre Poilievre.
I actually want to hear what this guy says, because what did let's see what he says.
We'll play the first 30, 45 seconds because it is fascinating. Then we'll kind of start jumping around. So listen to this.
Prime Minister Carney's well-crafted and eloquently delivered speech at Davos has been widely noted, and I want to start by offering my own praise. The Prime Minister is right to restate what many have said for years. Canada must become more self-reliant, less dependent, and work with like-minded countries to advance our interests. And Conservatives are, as always, willing to work with him to turn these words into results. What stood out most to me was when he pointed out, quote, the gaps between rhetoric and reality. That's especially true here at home. If liberal words and good intentions were tradable commodities, Canada would already be the richest nation on earth.
So that's how Pierre Poilievre starts off, right? And I'll be curious what the chat has to say about that.
Really? That's funny. It's hard to learn French too. Like it's just, I mean, unless you're in French immersion, I think it's kind of impossible. It's really hard to learn it.
This and what Pierre Poilievre's speech was doing here, because there's a couple different schools of thought. I think he did a good job.
Ici au Canada, on fait des choses plates. Here, we do, I don't know what that means. Here in Canada, we do, I don't know what plate is. We do hard things? No. Pleasurable things? What is plate? Josh.
Starting out
I didn't
saying,
know
hey,
that this guy's name is Josh, apparently.
Admitting it and admitting for what we all saw, it was a very strong speech. However, there's aspects of that speech that were
Why does everyone think that was a strong speech? I don't even get that. What was strong about it? That the Davos people liked it? I hated that speech from the minute he started talking. Just because he used what is the point of it that was smart? That was good? I don't even get that.
Fascinating and interesting moves considering what we're seeing here at home when you said
the only thing good about the speech, and it's not even good, the only thing you could say was remarkable about the speech is it was bold. Like if you want to argue that, yes, it was bold. Like it wasn't nothing. He actually went up there with a distinct point of view and let that be known. But I don't think that's the part of it I don't like. That's
one thing here, and what's happening here in Canada is something that's far different, drastically different. And here's the thing is I don't necessarily mind this start of the speech. There are some people who would say, I wish he just maybe just took a full minute. full minute of just like, hey, great speech. Mark Carney did a good job. Like just trying to find things that you can be positive about with what Mark Carney did, even though we significantly disagree with what he's doing. Just pull that minute for just a full minute. Like, all right, just, you know.
That's what he did. Is that not what he did?
No, a little bit of praiseworthy here, then get into it. It took him about 25 seconds of praise and then boom, right in on him. So the problem there is when you're trying to win that center right over, center left over, this is what they see. Is they're just like, oh, here we go, Pierre Poilievre against Mr. Naked-Ov.
Yeah, I don't agree with this take, though. I don't even think Poilievre should even try to win those people over. They should just kind of naturally come to you because it looks like fun. If the right wing looks like fun, I think more people will drift over, which I would say is a good analogy is happening right now. Is this the right-wing YouTubers? I think the right-wing YouTubers are kind of doing a good job of that. Like, yeah, Moose on the Loose, all these people, Pleb, Jasmine. It looks more fun to be a right-winger in Canada if you're just on YouTube. I think that's going to draw in the centrists without even trying to.
And I was, granted, they probably do that no matter what, but I'm curious what the chat has to say about that, of him kind of like, all right, we're going to take about 30 seconds for this, and then we're going to get right on into it. And that's kind of what he did. However, this is what I liked about Pierre Poilievre's speech, is he kind of gives a rundown of what's been happening in our country when it comes to different projects that have not gotten greenlit, different projects that have gotten scrapped, or we've added more bureaucracy that's caused more chaos. And when we talked about the globalists yesterday, more red tape equals worse, a worse way of living, essentially a degradation of living. So that's what Mark Carney does. That's what he does best. And Poilievre calls it out. We move over here.
Is that what plet is? Plet?
Kind of the beginning of the speech, which I thought was probably the most effective portion of his speech. And I want to hear your perspective on this.
The last 5 years have shown us that we can't count on others.
But this guy's an Eastern guy, right? Like he lives out East. I think the East has a whole different perspective on politics, it seems like, than the West, which, I mean, I think that's true because when I was out East, there is a whole different attitude.
Our closest neighbor and largest trading partner, the United States, struck us with tariffs and questioned our sovereignty. Now, that is short-sighted, and I believe it will hurt them too. But we can't control what they do, and no one can control what President Trump does or says. I know it's tempting to say our relationship with America is over forever, but here's the reality. We still live next door to the biggest economy and military the world has ever seen. We sell 20 times more to the U.S. than we do to China. 1 in 10 Canadian jobs rely directly or indirectly on trade with America. We owe it to those workers, our friends, family, and fellow Canadians to ensure those jobs don't go away. Growing and diversifying our economy is essential, as all political parties have been saying for decades. But we must also remember that our trade and security partnership with the U.S. is centuries old and will outlast one president. To quote the British Liberal Prime Minister, Lord Palmerston, we have no eternal allies and we have no perpetual enemies. Our interests are eternal and perpetual, and those interests, it is our duty to follow. We should continue to work with allies within the U.S. that are outside the administration to minimize the damage until a larger relationship repair can be completed. And I restate once again my offer to the Prime Minister that Conservatives stand ready to help his government fight U.S. tariffs. But while we hope for the best, it would be naive to assume that things will go back to exactly what they were. Whether the next administration is Republican or Democrat, tariffs may be here for the foreseeable future. None of that, though, is an excuse for letting our guard down and repeating past mistakes.
I'll pause it there. So I see the chat already split on this. They don't like where Pierre's going. Some are like, okay, I'll live with where Pierre's going with it on it. A lot of people are just like, what the heck is he going on Trump up again? But he's going off about Trump again. He's talking about the tariffs again, yada, yada. And I get the frustration. I understand it. I've been talking to a lot of different people these days from a wide variety of pockets of our country. I've been talking to the Alberta separatists, been talking to Canadian Federalists, been talking to people who are kind of like, don't really care about don't really care much about the separatist camp. more so kind of leaning towards Carney. You know, I've been talking to a lot of different people on this, and what I've learned is that I'm going to use a phrase here, is that we are a diverse country.
So even his chat, it sounds like, is saying to Polyev to stop with the the Trump stuff.
Diverse in beliefs. And the issue I find right now is anytime that we've had in our history, anytime there's been a liberal in power is when our country has become more divided. When separation...
Well, that's been the last like 11 years.
Sentiments increase is typically when liberal governments have been in power. When conservative governments have been in power, it's been a more unified country across the board. And right now, Polyev is trying to thread the needle with a lot of different groups. People who he needs to win over to a degree. He does need to win over those center-right, that centrist group who all of a sudden are just blinded by Mark Carney because of his amazing Davos speech at this point. So he's kind of have to pull them over a little bit. So he's going to concede at points. And again, people are going to look back to, he did this last April, and look where it got us.
That's what I think.
I hear you. Just saying this is kind of what he's doing here. However, what I like what he did here is he gave a little bit, though. He gave a little bit. Like, yeah, we can't predict what Donald Trump's going to do. I don't think this is a broken forever, though. This is based on what we can do. What can we do? So he gave like 10 seconds of like, yeah, Donald Trump, sure, I get it. But
I know, but this isn't how you win people over. It's too wishy-washy.
Let's not talk about Trump. Let's not talk about the U.S. Let's talk about the grander scheme of things. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about that we are still next door to the greatest market in the world. And we have a great relationship with them. Coming out and saying our relationship is done with them forever is short-sighted and stupid. It is. And that was the thing Polyev was trying to hit here, is we are still in control of our destiny. Donald Trump and the U.S. are going to do what they're going to do. We have to focus on what we need to do. Stop crying about what they are doing, and let's start looking at what we can do and what the issue is. And he's going to continue on in this speech to talk about all of the issues that the liberals have done, that Mark Carney has done, that have just prevented us from growing. You're going to sit there and cry about Donald Trump. You're going to sit there and cry about the United States. You're going to sit there and say this, that, the other, and then take that as an excuse to go do deals with China, a very, very disruptive power that Mark Carney, you said, was, I don't know, our greatest security threat last April. But then you're not going to take down red tape here in this country. Why? Well, we know why. Managed decline. But alas, Polyev doesn't let that stop him from building on this point of Carney's hypocrisy and what we can do as Canadians.
I think I'm going to just do a reaction video to this speech by Polyev. I think I'm going to do that. So I think I'm going to end the stream. You want to be daunted? That book will ruin your life. Don't try. What is this? Becheral? What is that?
By making Canada even more vulnerable to aggressive powers like the People's Republic of China, which the Prime Minister himself called our greatest threat only a few months ago. It was with great irony that the Prime Minister quoted one of the greatest heroes of the 20th century fight against totalitarian communism, Václav Havel, less than a
There's a whole book for that, the French Verb book.
week after launching a, quote, strategic partnership for a new world order with the Chinese communist regime, a partnership that includes plans to deepen engagement on national security issues at a senior level. We cannot throw caution to the wind with a regime that kidnaps our citizens, steals our technology, interferes in our elections, sets up illegal police stations on our soil, and has a history of using trade as a tool for diplomatic warfare against us. If this is what the Prime Minister meant when he told the Davos crowd that he is calibrating our relationships so their depth reflects our values, then I seriously question his values and, frankly, his judgment. Of course, we have to trade with China, as we always have, but without losing our compass or our national security.
Pretty simple. Pretty simple. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna head off. I'm gonna do a video on this Polyev, I think. So have a good night, everyone. See you later. Thanks for watching.